Welcome to Twins territory, here in the heart of Minnesota. Our journey begins 30 seasons after the Twins won their first World Series in Minnesota. They've enjoyed success since then, including another World Series in 1991 and several division titles in the 2000s. But as of late, the Twins' success has fallen off, and they've missed the postseason each of the last 6 years. Coming off a 103-loss season in 2016, there is much work to do to restore a once storied franchise in Major League Baseball. So it's time to get to work. I'm happy to welcome you to the Minnesota Twins franchise on MLB The Show 17. The wait is over and it's time to get underway here with the Minnesota Twins. And we'll waste no time in getting to know this roster. A team led by all-star second baseman Brian Dozier, who clobbered 42 home runs last season and 99 RBIs. He is the face of the franchise, but if this team is to restore their successful ways, it is going to be with the development of young talent. Leading the charge in that department is Miguel Sano, our third baseman, entering his third season at age 23. He's a power hitter with an enormous ceiling. Hitting 25 home runs last year, Sano just needs to cut down on the strikeouts and become more consistent at the plate. Perhaps the area with the biggest room for improvement on this team is pitching, and especially starting pitching. Our ace at the moment is 34-year-old Ervin Santana. Not a bad pitcher to have in your rotation. Maybe not the guy you want to be your ace, but the Twins had the worst record in baseball last season, and we need any help that we can get. Santana is a consistent veteran, and we hope to put some young arms around him in the rotation. Another veteran on this roster is Joe Mauer, our first baseman. He enjoyed many great seasons in Minnesota, but his play has dropped off in recent years, partially due to injuries that have lingered. Joe is a great contact hitter and still a good player to have in the lineup, but he's no longer the hitter he once was, and it's time for us to find some more bats in this lineup. In 2012, the Twins made Byron Buxton the number 2 overall selection, and the center fielder became one of the top prospects in Major League Baseball. However, his time at the majors has been rocky at best, with a career average at .220, and he's been very prone to striking out. While great in the field, the Twins need his offensive potential to materialize. Another young player we're trying to build around is German-born right fielder Max Kepler. Coming off of his rookie season, he is the best power-hitting lefty in our lineup. If he can build upon what he did well last season, I see a player that can be a mainstay on our team for a long time. Going back to the infield, I like shortstop Jorge Polanco quite a bit. He's 23 years old, pretty reliable in the field, and a good contact hitter. Polanco hit .282 last season. If he stays on his current trajectory, I see him becoming one of the most valuable players on our roster at a premier position. Now, of course, we have to talk about the minor leagues with this team and trying to develop. Last year, the Twins went out and signed Byung-Ho Park to be their designated hitter. In his time at the majors, he hit only .191, and while he does have a lot of power, he needs to get more consistent at the plate if he's to be our everyday DH. If you look at the top 50 prospects in Major League Baseball, the Twins have one. Sano and Buxton used to be in this list. Now they have shortstop Nick Gordon. He is our top prospect at 21 years old, currently playing at the AA level. He is the younger brother of D. Gordon. It may be a while before he sees any action at the Major League level, but we'll definitely have our eyes on him throughout this season. Earlier I mentioned starting pitching and the need for some young arms. I'm hoping that Jose Barrios can become a key Major League starter. He made some starts for the team last year. However, with a whip around 2 and an ERA north of 8, he's not quite ready to be at the Major League level now. That should give you a fair idea of what this roster looks like right now. We have a few key veterans, some that may be valuable for trading down the line, but we also have some young talent to build around. In this series, we're going to follow the Minnesota Twins and their minor league affiliates as we look to bring success back to Minnesota Twins baseball. And that begins with opening day 2017 against the Kansas City Royals. For a long time, the Royals were a team that struggled in the AL Central, but just a couple years ago, they won a World Series championship. Now the Minnesota Twins are a team trying to work from the bottom of the AL Central. We certainly have a lot of work to do, but 2016 is now in the past and it's time to look forward with the Twins. Ervin Santana on the mound against Danny Duffy on opening day for Minnesota in Minneapolis. Let me know down in the comment section, what do you think of this opening episode? What players are you excited to see us build around? And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and follow along here in the Minnesota Twins franchise.
And now, your 2017 Minnesota Twins.
And it's time to get underway here with Minnesota Twins baseball. On the mound, Ervin Santana, our ace. A 7-11 record last season. He made 30 starts with a 3.38 ERA. Those are numbers that we can work with. We just have to give him the run support to go with it. Here is a look at our Twins defenders with Miguel Sano at third base, Byron Buxton in center, and newly signed free agent catcher Jason Castro. Opening day for Minnesota began with Ervin Santana against Lorenzo Cain. First pitch on the season from Santana. In there with a foul ball on the fastball. Cain worked this count with a 7-pitch at-bat and hit one high and hard to center field, but Byron Buxton tracked this down. His defense and overall speed is going to be a huge asset for us. Next batter, Paulo Orlando hitting a single back up the middle and reaching base. Did not take long for them to get a hit off Santana. And then Orlando taking off for second, but Jason Castro throwing him out. Good first impression here from the Twins' biggest free agent signing this past offseason. Then with two down, Eric Hosmer with a line drive into right. 2 hits given up in this first inning by Ervin Santana. That brought up the power-hitting catcher Salvador Perez, who gave this one a ride, but Byron Buxton has all the range you need there in center field. Despite a couple hits, no runs given up by Santana. And here's a look at our Twins lineup with Brian Dozier leading off, and we're up against Danny Duffy, who had a very good 2016. But so did Brian Dozier. Trying to get off to a fast start. First pitch, ground ball up the middle, but the second baseman playing right behind the second base bag is there for the easy putout. Next up, Max Kepler. Again, first pitch, swinging and a line drive into the glove of Eric Hosmer. Duffy got 2 out on 2 pitches. And then with Byron Buxton, it was time to get a little more patient as Buxton worked this count full. And his patience was rewarded as he drew a 7-pitch walk to become our first base runner. And you know, with his speed on first, we want him to race to second. But Salvador Perez, with a perfect strike, throws out Byron Buxton's first steal attempt on the season. Let's go ahead into the second inning with Alex Gordon at the plate. The 1-1 from Santana is hit against the shift, but Eddie Rosario in left is able to cut it off and hold Gordon to a base hit. Next up, Salvador Perez. Grounded up the middle, Dozier steps on second. Easy throw on to first, and the Twins turn the double play. Later in the second, the first at-bat of the season for Miguel Sano, one of the most important players for this Twins organization. Line drive back up the middle. Solid swing by Sano as he reaches base. If there's a process to rebuild this team, it begins with Miguel Sano's bat. With 2 outs in the second here, Eddie Rosario back up the middle and past Mondesi. That puts Sano in scoring position for Jorge Polanco, our shortstop. Swinging at the first pitch, a liner to right, but right to the right fielder. And the Twins strand 2. In the third for Ervin Santana, runner at first. And a bunt going back to Santana, trying to get the lead runner, and he pulls Polanco off the bag, putting 2 on, nobody down for the Royals. Next up, Lorenzo Cain off the ankle of Santana, and the bases are loaded with nobody down. Big trouble already in the game for Ervin Santana as that brought up Paulo Orlando. And that's when Santana began to lose his command. He already had an error, allowed a lot of early base runners, and then ground ball to Dozier. They don't keep a run from scoring, but at least they turn 2 to limit the damage. 1-0 Kansas City, bottom 3. Brian Dozier the batter as this nearly goes down the line. Then the 3-1 pitch, and Dozier turns on one, driving it to deep left. The first on the season for Brian Dozier. After 42 last year, I'm hoping for a big season from Brian Dozier, and maybe he'll get that extra RBI and reach 100. He's our leadoff hitter, so we'll see if he gets that chance. But there is your first run of the Twins franchise, a solo homer from Brian Dozier. Here's a look at the trajectory and all the interesting math that goes along with this home run. A 112 mile per hour exit velocity, 6.6 hang time, 400 feet. Tie ball game as Byron Buxton was up later in the 3rd inning, again trying to battle back after a walk earlier in the 1st inning. And Buxton walked again. Strikeouts have been a concern, but now showing some patience and it paying off. This time, not taking off, however, as Mauer lifts one to left, and that ends the 3rd inning. A very even game early on. Let's go bottom 4. Robbie Grossman line drive to right as Paulo Orlando dives and comes up empty. Grossman aboard with a base hit. Now our everyday DH. Next batter, Eddie Rosario to 3rd. On to 2nd, they turn 2. Rosario doubled up as Kansas City flashes some good defense. The pitchers began to settle in, and we had ourselves a good pitchers duel going into the 6th inning. Here's a ground ball hit sharply to Dozier, and off balance he makes a perfect throw back to Joe Mauer to record the out. Santana trying to pitch 6 solid innings as a double goes into left center off the bat of Eric Hosmer, the first extra base hit on the day. Could Santana get out of this jam? Next batter, Jorge Soler. With an 0-2 count, Castro can't block it, and that allows Hosmer to move to 3rd base. Soler worked the count even, and then a pop-up, going into the dugout for Minnesota as Mauer can't reach out for it. Again the 2-2 from Santana, and a swinging strikeout on a perfect slider on the outside corner, the first strikeout on the day for Santana. Next up, with 2 out in the 6th, Alex Gordon. And Gordon turned on one, launching it to deep right center, and that is gone. He took advantage of a misplaced slider from Santana and made him pay. This made it 3-1 Kansas City, and Irvin Santana stayed in the game to try and get this quality start to finish off the 6th inning. But he quickly fell behind Salvador Perez and walked him on 4 pitches. The next batter was Mike Moustakas, and that would be the last batter Santana would face as Moustakas pulled it to deep right field, and that made it 5-1 Kansas City. 2 2-out home runs brought 4 runs across as Santana turned things over to the bullpen. Perhaps just left in a little too long. That brought in Tyler Duffy as we try to find who can be the leaders of this bullpen, and Duffy got a quick strikeout. Finally, the 6th inning came to an end, and it was time to try and make this comeback happen. Later in the 6th, here is Byron Buxton out in front of a changeup, and those strikeouts are the big concern with his game. Tyler Duffy stayed in the game for Minnesota, and look at this play by Miguel Sano. A strong throw across the diamond to throw out the speedy Lorenzo Cain. Sano had some defensive issues in the outfield last season, now looking to show he can make plays at 3rd base. That was outstanding. But still, Twins down 4. Here's Grossman down the line. After we got some hits early, nothing went right for our hitters. Danny Duffy settled in and struck out Robbie Grossman as he continued a great opening day start. Into the 8th, going deeper into our bullpen here with Taylor Rogers as Jorge Soler goes around. And that one was kind of embarrassing. Rogers wasn't done, striking out Alex Gordon on the corner. Santana had 1 strikeout, and our bullpen came in with 4 strikeouts, this time off the arm of Michael Tonkin. At least the bullpen got in some good work, but at the plate, different story. 2 strikeouts on opening day for Byron Buxton. Running out of time, bottom of the 9th inning now. Joe Mauer pops one up for Salvador Perez, and the Kansas City Royals celebrate on Target Field with an opening day victory. For the Twins, this was obviously a very disappointing opening day, and it showed a lot of the issues from 2016. They could hit home runs for sure, but they gave up too many home runs, and their pitching was unreliable. Irvin Santana had some good innings, but gave up 9 hits in the process, finished 5 2/3, 5 earned runs, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. The bullpen, however, combined for 3 1/3, allowing only 3 hits with 4 strikeouts. Let's jump into game number 2 now for Minnesota with Hector Santiago on the mound. Now this time around, I wanted to see what this managerial mode was all about, and I probably won't be using it too much as you get stuck in here and can't go into anything quicker. Salvador Perez got the Royals on the board first, but Miguel Sano hit his first home run, as did Max Kepler. 4-3 Minnesota later in the game, but in the 7th, with Tyler Duffy on the mound, things fell apart. Kansas City added 2, then another one. They weren't finished, adding 5 runs in the 8th inning. It looked like the Twins were down and out, but they weren't. They added a big home run from Jorge Polanco to make it 9-8. And then in the 9th inning, Kansas City tacked on another, and Minnesota just could not keep up in this foot race, giving up 18 hits and 10 runs in Game 2. The Minnesota Twins fell to 0-2 on the season. This time, Duffy gave up 5 earned runs, and Hector Santiago didn't quite finish 5 innings. Kansas City looking for a 3-game sweep as we head into game number 3. And here's Mauer working to his right, but Gibson not working to first base to give them a chance. Next up, Salvador Perez. He hit a home run in game 2 and was the player of the game. And there he is again. A phenomenal opening series for Salvador Perez, 2 home runs. Kansas City on their way to a 3-game sweep as they were up 5-1. In the 7th, after walking 2 straight, Eddie Rosario lifting one to center field, and Kane watches that go off the wall. But Minnesota, unsure if that would hit the wall or be caught, only gets 1 run in the process, but still have 2 in scoring position. With 1 down, batter Brian Dozier. Ground ball to short. A run can come home, and another one can as well as the throw goes offline from shortstop Alcides Escobar. Looks like a routine play, but it just gets away from him. Minnesota tacks on 3 in the inning, looking to tie the game. Byron Buxton gets hit. So he's aboard, 2 on for Minnesota, and the batter is Joe Mauer, having a quiet opening series and 0 for 3 on the day. After falling behind, Mauer swings and misses at the changeup. At least Minnesota got 3 of those runs back. After 5 innings from Kyle Gibson, it began to be the bullpen's turn. Michael Tonkin here in the 8th inning as he goes up high against Mondesi. A pitch getting away from him, and Mondesi, not happy about it, loads the bases. With 1 down, big strikeout here on Lorenzo Cain. Tonkin trying to get out of trouble, and a fly ball hit to Buxton as he settles underneath it and ends the scoring threat. Minnesota still down 1 in the 8th inning. Leadoff hitter Miguel Sano, liner to center. His line drives can go a long way. And Sano, trucking on to second base, is safe. The tying run aboard. And Minnesota brought in a little more speed off the bench with Danny Santana pinch running. 1 down, ground ball here by Jorge Polanco at least advances Santana, but Polanco grounds out, putting Santana at third with 2 down. Up to Eddie Rosario, who gets underneath a fly ball into shallow right. Catch made, and on to the 9th inning we go. Still in the game, Michael Tonkin, who gives up a big fly to right center. And that gets down for extra bases. Another double here for Eric Hosmer. Next up, Jorge Soler back up the middle. No longer looking silly on the strikeouts as he drives in another run, giving Kansas City a 2-run lead as they turn things over to their flame-throwing closer, Kelvin Herrera, to get his 2nd save on the year. Kansas City trying to complete the sweep as Grossman lines out to third base. That brought up Brian Dozier, and Herrera began to lose his spots a little bit. Going up high here, working the count full. Then the payoff inside as Dozier walks on to first. That fastball clocked in at 100. That brought up Max Kepler, who took one the other way, getting down for an extra base hit off the wall. Dozier racing to third, safe. Minnesota with the tying run now at second. And up is Byron Buxton, looking for that one big hit to turn things around. But Buxton fell behind 0-2 to Herrera. And then Herrera got him with the changeup. 2 outs for Minnesota, down to their last out in the series, and that brought up Joe Mauer. Herrera came back with that changeup. Mauer out in front, 1-2, down to their last strike. But Mauer came through, line drive to left field, driving in Dozier, driving in Kepler, and blowing the save of Herrera. The Twins had a chance. Mauer's clutch double the other way, scoring 2 in the 9th inning. But still, the game was not over. Eduardo Escobar came off the bench to pinch run. And because Danny Santana did the same earlier, we didn't have Miguel Sano's bat in this spot. But Santana came through, base hit, and Escobar having to get back to third base. That brought up number 9 hitter, the catcher Jason Castro. With 2 down, Minnesota looking for one more hit. Herrera's first pitch in the dirt but blocked by Perez. Herrera fell behind 3-1, but came back with the curveball to make the count full. Herrera's payoff pitch, grounded to Hosmer, who stopped it, but Castro, racing to first, is safe, and the Twins win! In dramatic fashion, they walk off to take the finale against the Kansas City Royals. Jason Castro, the hero on this day. Joe Mauer also had a big hit. Here was that final play as Hosmer had the dive to stop it, but didn't field it cleanly. And then Herrera racing to the bag is beat out by Castro. What an exciting way to get our first win on the season. But we were so close to a devastating sweep to open the year. I do believe in this team's ability to get the bats going. We had 2 big innings in that comeback. It was 5-1, but we came back in the 7th and 9th innings. To get a blown save there off of Herrera was pretty big for us. The Twins now sit at 1-2, and we will see what is up next in the Minnesota Twins franchise. Every episode is going to be a little bit different, but everything is going to work towards us building this team back up. Thank you all for watching the first episode in the Minnesota Twins franchise. I hope it was worth the wait. If you enjoyed and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, leave a like and your feedback down below. I had a great time making this first episode, and I'm very excited for this series. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you next time.